Hello, Matt Elliott here.
Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
For all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels.
for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
Happen in 49, 61, 63 or 69 when they reach the final. But the class of 2021 have delivered. Leicester City are FA Cup winners at last and are history makers at Wembley.
They have blown their rivals away. They have blown us all away in truth. Premier League champions 2016. The amazing Leicester City!
Leicester Till I Die TV. Your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
Right, Chris.
All right then, how the devil are we all? Good evening. It's Monday after the weekend, and is it at this point that pinching yourself to check something is real actually becomes self-abuse? I'm not sure, but I've been pinching myself an awful lot. But did Leicester just win 2 Premier League games on the trot? I mean, I wasn't imagining that, was I? It did happen. I didn't dream it. I haven't woken up this morning. I've been checking the BBC and Sky this morning, and apparently we did it. Good evening. It's Leicester Till I Die TV. Find us Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube at Leicester Till I Die TV. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't done yet, please give us a subscribe. It really does help us. And also smash those likes. And if you're listening on catch up on podcast form, Amazon, Apple iTunes, Google, Spotify, Podcast Addict, or your favorite podcast platform, thank you very much for listening. Here's where we are.
Watch us on YouTube. Listen on your favorite podcast platform or ask your smart speaker to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow, and join in now.
Broadcasting live worldwide.
Were you worried? Leicester City 1, Leeds United 0. I did have a feeling we were going to end up with a 0-0 draw. Mind you, I guess we ended up last on match of the day anyway. And let's say good evening to my special guest this evening on the opposition show, Karl, a Leeds fan. Good evening, Karl. How the devil are you?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me. I've just come back from Huddersfield, seeing my family, so I couldn't do the Friday preview show because I went down to Huddersfield, so I was exhausted traveling from Scotland all the way down.
That's fine. I mean, that is very nice. I go to see my family, and it's Leicester. You see, if you ever want to do a family swap at all, I'm up for it. You know?
Oh no, I don't think you would cope with my nieces and my nephew. I don't think you could cope with them. I can deal with it. I don't think you can, but no, it was my sister's partner's 40th, so I went back home for a few days.
I don't think I think I'm past. Is it Copacabana Beach? I think I'm past doing that anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, if I walked on Copacabana Beach, the tide couldn't get in. But listen, tell everybody where they can find you, Karl.
You can find me on Twitter at Karl92. That's my personal one. Everyone knows my co-host Douglas, myself and Douglas. It's not been for a while, but we do a podcast show, the Totally Levy and Horn Douglas football podcast. So we're on YouTube as well as Facebook and Twitter. We're on podcast platforms such as Google, Apple, Spotify, and all the other podcast platforms as well. So you can find us on there as well if you want to catch up. But brilliant. I am on most shows on different platforms during the week.
I think we all are, aren't we? We used to have a life, and then we started doing this. Good evening to Mike. Big up, Mike. Thanks for joining us. Now, Mike's a Manchester United fan, and that's
yeah.
Hey, I'm sorry, Mike, but I'm sure the Leeds fan actually probably feels happier than you do at the moment.
I was a lot more happier, and I was listening to some of the calls on some radio stations last night when I was driving, and I was like, "Yep, yeah." Everyone's complaining, and like, this is what I'm paying for. Like,
payback for you. I think it's just unfortunate, and Mike knows. I mean, Mike's one of the nice guys, but there are a lot of Man United fans that kind of live in this world that Man United didn't exist before Alex Ferguson. And that's all they've grown up with this group. Yeah. And it was amazing success, but not as bad as Arsenal fans, but we'll come on to that another time. Spencer, good evening, sir. How the devil are you? Welcome along. Thanks for joining us. I've got rid of our little Chinese bot friend, so... We'll make a start. So it was, like we say, 1-0. Sorry, I should just say, before we go on, RIP to Franco Farrell, ex-Leicester manager, ex-Manchester United manager. He's passed away today, age 94. So RIP, Frank, and all our wishes to yourself and your family and friends. Good evening, Scott. Welcome along. How are you? You're slowly becoming a Leicester fan, are you, Mike? He also, in fairness to Mike, he also supports Newport, which I hate.
Right, fair enough. The beat us in the FA Cup a few years ago, so yes. I'm not gonna,
Yeah, they beat us as well in the FA Cup. She never stops reminding me, but I don't think either of them had a good weekend. And he says, Frank, true legend, managed both our clubs, amazing guy. RIP to him. 1-0. Do you think that was a fair reflection of the game?
Not really. I saw this as a draw because it was interesting. What was the first starting 11 for Jesse March? It was going to be huge turnaround because we have the Bielsa till I die fans. On fraction of the Leeds fans. Didn't wanted his job to be there. But it was hard. It was a new era. We didn't know what we were expecting. We all expected similar to what Bielsa was going to be. But we didn't expect to be a better defense in that nearly the whole game. I think that somehow was the difference we've seen the last couple of games. How much we've conceded over 14 goals, and it's just, so it's been a huge difference, And I think the players did really turn up. But I think there's two players I don't think I disagree that they really did turn up. It's mainly Rodrigo. We spent a lot, £30 million for him. He's not paying the pennies back to us of how much he can be. He was supposed to be originally the long-term replacement for Pablo Hernandez in the attacking midfield, but he needs to be better up front as well. I think Rafinha's had a bit of a stinker the last few games. It's not been the same. I think what is the situation, his contract situation at the moment, it's kind of been upstole a little bit because I've been hearing mostly speaking to my good friend and co-host Douglas. It's that he does feel like some of his local players, the Brazilian players, Fabinho, Alisson, has tried to poach him up to try and get Rafinha to Anfield some point this summer. So there's been a lot of issues about the contract situation, but the defensive shape was a lot better, and that's something we have not seen for quite a while, not for a long time, and it was really vital for us to see that.
I was very you're always concerned when you play a team that's just got the new manager in because you get the new manager bounce. I wasn't sure. I didn't really know a lot about Jesse Marsch, to be honest with you. But obviously, American coaches haven't exactly got the best track record.
We all know.
But he's obviously, as you said, and Connor, who did the watch along with me on the match, he is very much in Bielsa's image, if you like. You know, he plays a similar sort of game.
Yeah, he does. And Jesse Marsch has been here in Europe for quite a long time. So he's been learning a lot from the managers based in Europe, because he has played with one of the first team coach long time ago when he was in the US. And I think he was playing at the time when David Beckham moved.
Yeah.
So he's learned a lot of being under the Red Bull football tree. Started at New York Red Bulls. Went to Strasbourg, had a very good two seasons, winning both the league and the domestic cup, and developed players like Pat Sadaka and Erling Haaland as well. So yeah, he's been more like in Bielsa's mold in the similarity. But what we do see the difference is Jesse Marsch does have different tactics, different plans. If we like Bielsa always had plan A plus, we keep attacking more, but we're vulnerable. I think Marsch does have different strategies now than we have done. I think we dropped the man marking, which is what has been Achilles' heel this season, a lot more than it has been. And we went a bit more zonal, a bit more pressing. And I think that really helped us a little bit during the game. I watched most of the game of Saturday. It looked a little bit more of the Leeds side, probably in the early days of Bielsa, when we didn't concede a lot of goals when we were in the Championship.
I do find that very interesting, because we were talking before we came live, and we touched on this point, that we very much have had a problem with our defence because we've had so many injuries. Like I say, 9 defenders injured at some point. But one of our problems was the fact that we were doing zonal marking, and we were horrendous at corners. I'm not a fan of zonal marking, and we've gone back to man-to-man marking.
Which is your more strength. Which is your strength.
2 clean sheets in the last 2. We've only had 3 clean sheets all season, so I do find that very interesting. And Mike did mention the fact that you have just done us both in the FA Cup. And all right, Mike, you haven't got much to shout about at the moment, haven't you? Have you? So I've got a quiz question. We do a lot of quizzes on there. Quiz question, Mike. What's the similarity between Leicester and Manchester? Both the cities are blue at the moment. Anyway, oh boom! Get in there, Mike. Karl says you could have taken Fred back with you.
Oh
dear. And Spencer, now, this is a very good question. I mean, book it for sale. I mean, do you agree with Bielsa having to go?
It's a hard one because of what, and I explained to most shows last week. What Bielsa he didn't change the club, the players. He changed the whole of the city.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, for me, growing up near Leeds, I was born in Huddersfield. I grew up about 15 minutes off from Leeds. So about, traveling this way. If you beat to Leeds, historically Leeds has been more of a rugby league city. The football has not much history. We had a bit of history, but not much more history to our Leeds Rhinos or the Yorkshire County Cricket Club in a way, because it's a cricket city as well.
Yes.
So for that, it's taken a long time. We had really good success on the Don Revy, back in those mid-60s, 70s. And then we had that season before the Premier League was established when Harry Wilson won the title under Eric Cantona there. Then we had that bit of success with Daryl Lurie, got to the Champions League semi-final. It's been like brief successes over those years. And I think what Bielsa, surprised when Bielsa came to the club, it did change the city. He understood what the city is, because Leeds fans are very divided sometimes in a way of how things were going at the time. But I think when Bielsa came, we were all under one. We were all united for a good few years, which was the difference. I think those last few weeks, those questions between the older generation and the younger generation, that the older generation didn't want Bielsa to be sat. Some of the young generation was very mixed. It was very mixed. In my head, in my heart, I did not want him to go. But in my head, I thought in my head first that what choice do we have? We've got to save our season, and where to go. So I was in two minds. It's been raw, mixed emotions from that point. But I think we will see if it's the right decision. But I think Bielsa knew, his time was going to be coming at the end of the season. I think everyone knew that was going to happen. So did myself. But it was just, we didn't know what to do.
I wonder if you went down, whether he would have been the man to bring you back up again.
No, I don't think he would have done. I think he would have. He was done. I think he was done by then. I think everyone knew, the club knew that he was going to go. He would have left anyway, because the contract discussion all came up before the Manchester United game, and that's when I think the signs were coming. But this year it's been a lot more alert because we did not know, because I don't think he was going to spend beyond the fourth season. So it was a gamble we had to take if he, But I think he knew.
Sometimes a manager can only take a club so far, and then that's it. I mean, I can't argue with everything you've said there. I mean, we've been there, seen there, got the T-shirt with Ranieri.
Yeah.
May he's sort of winning us the Premier League, which was something we never ever thought would happen. And then less than a year later, he's being shown the door. Thank you very much. Good night, sweetheart, sort of thing. So because we were getting like you, we were in a relegation zone. Funny thing was, I was watching. I'm sat of a YouTube addict, and I sit there and I click on a YouTube, and it draws you in, and you suddenly sort of 30 little short videos later. It's 3 a.m, and you've ended up on ships crashing in Turkey or something. But I was watching when England played Argentina in. It was a friendly, I think, in Switzerland, and Bielsa was the manager.
He was.
Not a bucket in sight. I mean, do you think March is going to go down the bucket route?
I don't know. Well, what I can tell you that I think we stopped selling the buckets now at the club superstore, so that is now gone.
And you actually sell the buckets, do you?
We did sell the buckets. We did sell the buckets during when he was still there. I think that's done. And also, his translator / analyst has now left his role, so. And he actually liked my tweet when I said thank you for everything. He did like my tweet though, so I gave him a bit of credit for that, because I think, I think Bielsa was the man of the people. He was the man of Leeds completely, because, like I said, we had like 13 previous managers could not do the job for us, and it was so horrid. And I think he gave us that belief that there was hope for us. We didn't even know where we were going to be back in the Premier League. We didn't even know. We didn't know if we were going to be back. And it took us 2 years ago to get back, with 8 on the
I
head.
can remember, playing Leeds in the 3rd tier.
Yeah.
And we've been, I must just quickly show you this. This was the promo that I did for the watch along. I couldn't resist that.
That's fair enough, yeah.
One man's journey to find his bucket. But, we're very, very similar. You lived the dream under David O'Leary, and probably not in the best way. You had it, but we wasted you put all your money on one horse there, didn't you?
Yeah, we did.
And you didn't quite come off. And there, for the grace of God, goes a lot of clubs. And we've been, Leicester City, we've gone out of business once. We nearly went twice, if it wasn't for Milan Mandrić coming in. And we've ended up down in the 3rd tier as well. I think Steve Howard got a last-minute goal against you, and because we went down, and we were quite lucky. We came straight back up again.
Yeah, you did. And it took us 3 seasons for us to get back up, to get from the 3rd tier back to the 2nd tier. It took us 3 seasons.
It's difficult, though, isn't it, when you go into these lower divisions? So we've been there. We've suffered, and a lot of people don't like Leeds, but I like. You were big. Let's not lie. Under Don Revie, you were.
Yeah, I agree.
No, you were. But that was then. You know what I mean? And this is now. But I don't find a lot of Leeds fans a bit like the Man United, a bit like the Arsenal. Well, we should be big because we used to be big, sort of thing. You don't get that. I don't find with Leeds fans anyway.
No.
I was glad to see you come back up. And I like to say, I love Everton to go down. Not that I've got anything against Everton, but just that I like to see the big clubs go down. And sort of Leeds, but you have really suffered. You certainly almost copying your neighbours Sheffield United.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think everyone says about the second season syndrome, and it's been, and it was in the back of my mind with that one because I think our transfer window was not the best, and we really screwed up the transfer window. And I think as well, I think with our ownership as well, which has been an interesting one, is because we've got Razani, who owns majority of the club, while the 49ers, the San Francisco 49ers own the minority stake. And I think this was more influenced, that decision that Bielsa had to go, was more influenced by the 49ers because Razani said something was not right. And I think someone from the exec board at the 49ers said, you need to do something here because this is not working. This is not where we want to be. We put our money into this. You invited us. And I think what it results in the next couple of months, maybe within the next year or two, that the 49ers will take ownership of Leeds United. That will happen. Yeah. Whereas his only net worth is about $500 million. I think the ownership of the 49ers.
I mean, these days you need you can't really work in the Premier League unless you've got owners with a bit of money behind you. Yeah. Connor, good evening, sir. How the devil is? Thanks for doing the watch along with us for the match. Sorry it didn't go your way. I would ask you, have you stopped crying into your hovis yet? All I got to say on that. Statman, good evening, sir. How the devil are you? I hope you. Well, I know you're not very well. You got the old COVID, so I hope you are going to feel better soon. Dorco Don Revy was a Leicester fan. He certainly played for us. We had him.
That is true. He was a Leicester fan. I do even know that. So, yeah.
He didn't. Yeah, but he didn't mind pinching Alan Clark off us, did he? Dan Turf Morehouse, who absolutely.
How you doing, Dan?
Dan, I mean, you wanted us to beat Leeds for you. We did it, and then you capitulated against Chelsea. What is going on? But he does ask a question there. With Marsh now confirmed, do you think it's going to be an instant change, or will it need a drop in division to find a new way?
It's a good question with that one. I think it will be an instant change, but not as much. No matter what, if we drop down in the division, I think Marsh was our long-term manager that we needed after post Bielsa, because I think we needed that similarity. I think if we went for someone like Valverde, it would have been a very different, really dead style, and it would not work. It would not please the fans because these fans are not the most patient fans in the world. So you have to be, But I think Marsh is right, man. I think the club will give him time. I think, like I said, because of what I said about the American owners, I think they will take away the summer, and I think they will give Marsh a lot more time under than Razani was with Bielsa.
Do you think with your American owners? I mean, my first thought when I think American owners is the ESL, the Super League. I mean,
I don't see that. I don't see that with our owners, no, because they're not there. Because, like I said, the 49ers are a historical team. Because I'm an NFL fan, they're a historical franchise. They really care about the inclusive team to make sure everyone has a fair chance. I don't think there will be more about the Super League thing. They would not care because they want Leeds to be fighting in the next decade or so, where we get back to a bigger status, to be in the Champions League again. So I think that's what they want. They don't want to be more the European Super League. They're not like some of the owners like Manchester United, or Liverpool or Arsenal. So I think that is not to work for us. I think the 49ers are the opposite of that. So they want Leeds to be fighting, get things fair, square, not being given on a silver platter.
Great. We're just going to take a quick break. I did say before we came in, we have got a new, for anybody that's watched now, we have got a new section in the show. People will know that I've kind of introduced this over the last couple of shows, but let's give it some official backing here. Welcome along to the how long since Spurs won a trophy moment. And I can tell you that, and I have got a life, but I can tell you it is 14 years, 7 days, 1 hour, 53 minutes, and just clicked on to 30 seconds. We'll give you another update later in the show. We've got to make it official. you've had, you've been there. You're not a sacking club. I mean, you've Bielsa's come up. You've given him a season, a bit like Sheffield United did. And again, regular viewers of this show will know my thoughts towards Watford and Norwich. I mean, I just hope they just pee off back down the division and stay there for a couple of seasons, because they're not giving it a proper, attempt or even having a go. I mean, but I remember Simon Grayson was your manager, wasn't he? At one point, I was talking about that on Saturday. Ex-Leicester captain.
Yeah, it's very surprising he's played for both clubs. I think Grayson's had a better win rate record than Bielsa, just about, actually. As I saw that, I think Bielsa had 42%. I think Grayson and Revel was higher than that. So it was very interesting to see Simon Grayson, who was at the club, I think, for a good 2-3 years, I think, as well, but had a very win rate as well. So,
yes,
I'm glad to play for both clubs. I think Grayson started at Leeds. Grayson started at Leeds, just like, and then he played at Leicester, so during his late career.
I mean, looking at the match itself, when we did, I think had it ended up, I could see it being a 0-0, to be honest with you. I mean, if we look, let's just get sort of the stats up here. I mean, these are the stats. I don't know if you're able to see those at all.
I see it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the possession doesn't really matter much. I mean, that was almost 50-50 anyway. But 19 shots to our 7. And I know the one stat that matters is how many of those not only were on target but went in. But that was a hell of a lot of shots. And that worried me from Leicester's point of view, because I think, if we were to do that against Chelsea or against Liverpool, we would get, like yourself, hammered.
Yeah.
But you were going for it. And it was, my take on the match was, we would have 10-15 minutes, then you would have 10-15. Then we'd have 10-15 minutes, then you would have 10-15 minutes. But you just didn't take your chances, did you?
No, we didn't take our chances. And that was a disappointing thing, to be quite honest here. And I think because of not having Bamford there and not playing James as a false 9, I think Marsh was short of options in a way, and I'm not going to blame him. It was his first game, so he was short of options, so he had to choose what he could. I think he would go different from Villa game with Villa onwards with that. So, I will admit we had a lot of chances. I think that was our first time in a while we've had a lot of chances. We've never been nearly like 19, 20 shots, nearly close to 20 shots for quite a while. I think it's been a lot less than that from what I've seen. Yeah. But no, I think we just had a lack of critical finish, especially from Rafinha, who had a very close shot that he could have scored during the second half. I'm not gonna lie, he could have been better with that. But like I said, players like Rodrigo, who expects to be a big winner from having Marsh under him now, he didn't deliver. So that's the disappointing thing in that he needs to react. But I think with Bamford now coming back to full fitness, in a way, we're seeing how fit he's going to be if he plays against Aston Villa on Thursday. We'll see. But I think because of the spine of the team, we've lost like Cooper, Phillips, and Bamford. They're the spine of a team, and that's why I think that's why we struggle so much. But I think Phillips is not fully on his way back yet. He's not from what I last heard. But I think Bamford is close at the moment. I think Bamford's very close. I think he'll probably attempt to be in the last couple 10, 15 minutes of the game against Villa on Thursday. We'll see how the lineup's going to be.
Like I said, though, I mean, and this is the problem, I guess. I look at the 19 shots and think, but yeah, we let you have 19 shots. But, and you've just alluded to it there, only 4 of those were on target. We had 7 shots. And we had 4 on target. And that's the difference in this league. If you're not getting those shots, at least making the goalkeepers work, you are going to struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. I also agree. I think, like I said, Meze didn't have much to do in the game, to quite honestly, until that moment. He could have done better for the Barnes goal. I think it was just like very lucky, because I think the defense just switched off at the last minute. So I think it was a bit of a late reaction from Meze. But like you said, he didn't have much in the game to do. That is a bit surprising, because when he has not much to do, he mostly parries his shot or error chances. So I think he's like second behind De Gea, the most shots he's been faced in the Premier League this season. So that was surprising. He only had 4 shots faced to him on target Saturday because he has a lot more than that. So no, it was a huge change.
That's Leicester at the moment, unfortunately. Well, fortunately for you, unfortunately for us. I mean, he got his hand to the save, so it was just. Barnes, I think, now has equalled the record of scoring in his first 4 games against you. He scored in all 4 games, and I think that's a joint record. Andy, good evening, Andrew. How are you? Says, fantastic support. I've never seen so many coaches outside the King Power. You always have. I mean, I'm sort of in my early 60s now, and I remember, like I say, the Revies and those years. And you like Leicester because you're a one city club. And you do have, and you've always had, an amazing away support.
Yeah, oh no, absolutely. I think we average to take like 3,000 fans, quite a lot, to be going to the games. So that's why away ticket policy is so limited. You can't even get a ticket for a away game. But no, we've always had fantastic support. January we have done. Even though we were down in the 3rd tier, we still had a lot of good, really huge support when we went to away games. That has been a vital thing for us. That's what I think the away fans has been more. It's more of it makes a difference for our team to go out this year because they're very vocal. So but it's just again as well. Are we falling apart again? Yeah, we know that song and. Man United fans were singing to us the other week. Feel like they won something and then they lost to City. So City United will fall apart again with that yesterday. But yeah,
all I can say about Man United is they changed the driver, but they're still going down the same road.
Yeah. So
and that's the risk, obviously, when you do change a manager, is what difference is. Sometimes it works. Watford, it never works for them. Getting rid of a manager when they're in 12th. How's that worked out for you, Watford? But Man United, they're no better off, I don't think, than they were under Ollie. And you've got to, when you're taking a new manager on, you've got to show some improvement. And looking at your game, that, like I say, I wasn't expecting that at all because I thought, well, new manager syndrome, but he's not been in the Premier League before, he's not been in English football before, and you gave us a real go. I'm like, hey, this is Leeds,
Yeah, exactly. What Jesse Marsh said on Thursday, I really kind of enjoyed his press conference. He said he doesn't, he's the stereotypes with American coaches, with Ted Lasso, all that stuff, But I think for him, I think that's why I think now they're trying to be more with the term football over in the US than it was in the soccer. He's now coming here. He's like, no, I'm not. I'm good. I've watched all these the managers. I'm studying them really hard. I'm not like some of them that in the US, how they the terms and stuff. So I think that's a big difference for us. And I think having him, he was linked with the job for the last few years. He knew our director of football last year that we were talking for the last 2 years about this could happen. So this has been an ongoing thing, but we'll see. We'll see then how it goes the rest of the season. But I think even though with Burnley losing on Saturday, so did Norwich as well. The one thing is I'm worried about how Brentford responded on a Saturday winning 3-1 against Norwich. So the pressure's on us now, trying to get the points to get really vital points now.
What's your running like?
So we have Villa on Thursday. I think we have Norwich around that time as well. Before we get to mid-April, we have Chelsea, Arsenal, and I think Man City within the last 3 games. And then the last game of the season against Brentford. And that could be, and it depends if we're still in a relegation battle, that could be decided between ourselves and them and Burnley and Newcastle.
Yeah. For me, I think Newcastle are probably safe, but to Dan from Turf Moorhouse, Elton Watford's hits. There's a couple of things here you've got to look at, Dan. Peeing in the Wind. I suppose, is that his version of your song that was Peeing in the Corner? It's those that know Dan, those that when he wakes up in the middle of the night, he can't quite make it to the toilet. Goodbye Premier League Road. I think coming from a Burnley fan, that's a little bit a bit too close to home for you. Looking at the when you looked at your team that started, and obviously Bamford wasn't fit at all. Otherwise, I think they'd have brought him on at some point. Are
Yeah.
you happy with that team?
Listen, I think at the time we didn't have no choice. I don't think he was going to change as much as he was in his first few days of the training. I think he wanted to keep the same as it could. I think what could have been different as it could have played the 4-2-2-2 as we've been seeing. It didn't work on Iran yet. But I think he wanted to give his players a chance. I think Koch, who's been playing a lot in defense midfield, I think because Llorente was out injured, I think he had a little bit better as well. But I was happy with the team because I think Dan James has been running up and down. I think he's been our best player this season by hand in the way, along with Rafinha, but he's been more running to the ground. He really worked his socks off. So for that, it was what we could see in a way, but I think there would be a bit more better emphasis on our marking system. That was the thing we needed to work with that team. Again, we played on Saturday.
I mean, when I spoke to Connor, he very much was, surprised that Dan James was being good. He's played up front a few times, but obviously that's not his preferred position.
No.
And yet, when you go on the BBC site after the game and the fans can vote, give the players points. What do points make? And James was your top scoring player.
Yeah, exactly. He wants to come to Leeds for a long, long time, and I think that's why. Yes, we spent a lot of money on him, but I think it was the right investment because we need someone like him who will actually run it all over the pitch, and he does that. He's Bielsa's type, and I think he'll be Jesse March's type as well too. I think Jesse March will play him more in his suitable role as a winger. I think that will happen. I think for now, until Bamford is fully fit, I think he just to play him as a false nine. But I think Joel Gelhardt is, Joffrey needs a lot of games. He can see how much he can make a difference. For a guy who's 19, he can make the difference in a way. So I think Jesse March will be looking at him carefully and see what will be starting 11 on Thursday, because I think he's looked at Joel Gelhardt. He's seen how much he can be an impact player off the bench. So let's see if he can get a start again. Because I think his first game he first started was against Spurs. And that's the last time he started up front. So
Right. I can't be honest with you, because we've had a problem ever since we lost a certain Mr. Mahrez in filling that right wing position. And I was quite keen on getting, James in, because everybody knew he was leaving. But then the Man United fans were more than happy to let him go, and quite often that kind of sums it up. I mean, I thought Mesler again. He saved a couple of good saves he made that probably denied us getting a couple of others. He was only fourth, as I say, James. And no disrespect, I do wonder why James was your man of the match from my point of view watching it. But then when you look at it, and I look at like the Leicester players, in fairness, Schmeichel was our top player. Again, that's a credit to you because it shows how, in a way, Dorian, that second half, you came out. Oh God, it was like you're throwing the kitchen sink at us.
Yeah, I think that was a time where we, in that certain phase of the game in the second half, we were trying to throw everything in. Actually, I think because how James will feed off anyway, he will push out when he comes back off. He won't go for it as a false nine. He'll come back a bit to feed the wingers in like Harrison and Rafinha as well, to try to get them into the box as well in that final 6-yard box in a way to just try to get the opportunity. I just think at the moment we know what we can do, but we just need to do better with our finishing. That is the issue we have at the moment, and we've had that, and that's been Achilles' heel this season. It really has been, especially without Bamford as well. That's been Achilles' heel because Rodrigo's the only recognised striker that I do know like a thing, and also Gelhardt, but Rodrigo's the recognised striker in that squad. But Bielsa wasn't playing him up front, so I don't know. It's a hard one.
It is, and you may not have an answer to this question because I don't. But what is it with second season syndrome? You get. I mean, they call it that. I mean, I know teams come up, and sometimes you're a little bit sort of, you take the Premier League by surprise because you're the new team, you're the new kids on the block. Yeah. Brentford did it again this season, but they've kind of had their second season drop a little bit earlier. Sheffield United did it last season. We didn't, of course. Our second season, we won the Premier League, but then not everybody can do that, can they? But
No.
I just like to sneak that in every.
I know you do, and I give credit for that. I have no problem with that. You get to sneak that in.
Oh, thank you. But is it a case very much of sort of like fingernails at the edge of the cliff, just holding on and just staying up for that second season, and then building on from there?
Yeah, it is. I think because our squad is still a core of championship players, and that's the issue we had. So we did not want to do the same situation as what Sheffield United did or what Norwich did a couple of seasons ago. We did not want to go for the same approach, but could have been better in the transfer market to get the players that we needed. For example, we needed a cover for Calvin Phillips, a like for like. Yes, we needed that, and we did get that, and that's we didn't get Conor Gallagher. We messed that one up. He went to Palace. We did get Lewis O'Brien from Huddersfield, who's having a really good season as well. He's doing what's up. There was certain things we missed, and I think we didn't focus much on our midfield because that was where we've been light, and especially on our defense as well. I think we did need another Premier League proven defender. That was the one thing we lacked in. And Junior Firpo, he's not had his good season, but he's not played a lot of games where he was at Barcelona as well. He didn't play a lot of games at Barcelona over the last few years till he joined us last summer. So for that, it's just been the transfer market could have been better by the board itself, because I think they were doing the wrong priorities. They'd be focusing too much on the facilities with the stadium, upgrading the stadium, what the training ground to be upgraded. They focus too much on that. They didn't think about the playing squad. And I think that's why there's that second season to start, because we're not being invested much in our squad. Where Angus Kinnear, he's a really greedy bloke who came out before the Newcastle game. We don't want to buy first new players because it could harness our young players' development. It wouldn't, because it would have helped them as well. It would have helped them improve as well. So I don't get the comments as well from that. So we really screwed up in the transfer market the last two transfer windows. So, it's not, if you do stay up this season, if you do, they have to prove it now. So when you're under pressure, you need to get the players that we need now to replace some of the players that is not good after the next 2 years.
But if you go down, do you think you'll be able to hold on to your best players to give yourself a good chance of coming back up?
I don't think we can hold Rafinha. I don't think we can. Phillips is an interesting one because we know historically he's Leeds through the academy, and I know last year the year before he's Granny Val, who was very instrumental in, if you watch the documentary Take Us Home on Amazon Prime. She died of unfortunately from COVID, and she made a promise when Aston Villa tried to attempt to sign him. She said, "Please don't go. You got some good here." So, and he actually kept his promise. It's going to be a little bit harder. You can see a team like Man City could be looking at that replacement.
Well, he's obviously an England international and played really well.
I know, exactly. Exactly. And that is one thing we worry about. I think Bamford will go as well, because that's another good question to play that we might be losing, not just him, not just Rafinha and Phillips. Bamford could go as well too, because we see last season 17 goals last season for us. That proved it. He can score in the Premier League. It's just because of the injuries he's had. He's just his injuries. But he's proved he can score in the Premier League. Do a good job for a mid-table, maybe near top half team in a way, bottom top half team.
No, totally. Just some 4 stats from the weekend. It's the first time we've had 2 consecutive wins since October, and the first time we've had clean sheets since, in a year. Leeds United have suffered 5 consecutive 5 consecutive league defeats for the first time since April 15 in the Championship under Neil Redburn. It does look dangerous when you've got those 5 red dots next to you. Like we said earlier, Harvey Barnes has scored in 5 consecutive league appearances against Leeds United, 1 for West Brom and 4 for Leicester. So he's actually got 5. He has scored more league goals against Leeds than any other club. Sorry, just to rub that in. And Leeds haven't kept a clean sheet in any of their last 13 league matches. the longest run without a clean sheet since a 14-game run between March and August 16. I feel your pain with that one because that's been our season. Have you been surprised at sort of Leicester's season?
I'm surprised, but I think the last 2 years when you did get a chance to finish in the top 4, it would have catched up to you anyway. So there were 2 surprises. I think that's why I'm saying it's not surprising, but surprised, because I think in a way you had the opportunity to be in the Champions League the last 2 years. It just didn't pay off, and I think it's just caught up. And you worry about some of your players who might be linked, like at least Wesley Fofana has signed a new contract, which is good for you guys because I know he's been instrumental for you guys the last season or so. And that's really huge. But like with Telemans, that's one player I do worry about for you, who might be his contract is in the last 12 months. And that is what you need to make sure you keep those kind of players at the club when you do need to finish in the top half. I think if you do get to win the Europa Conference League, I think you'll get to keep some of the players. I think you will be looking to keep the majority of the players. I think 1 or 2 players will go, but I think you will play as well. But I'm surprised how you guys have been this season. I really am, and that really surprised because I did kind of predict Leicester. I think in the top 4. I think I did remember.
I went for 4th or 5th again, but like I say, it's easy. Well, I know Rodgers doesn't blame injuries, but we do. I mean, you mentioned there the Europa Conference League. Now, there's, and I keep mentioning them, but it does keep coming up. Spurs didn't really want to be in it.
No.
And I think they could have somehow played that game if they'd really wanted to. I think they were, in a way, they were quite pleased that they could blame, UEFA for chucking them out. And Arsenal are saying we'd sooner finish 8th and finish 7th than go in the Conference League. And I'm like, but it's Europe. It is still Europe. Yeah, but we want to be in the Champions League because that's where we've always been. And we won't attract good players if we're not in the Champions League. I said you'll attract even less players if you're not in Europe at all.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the side of those sort of fans that I don't like. You think you're not entitled to anything in this game. We've both been in clubs that have gone out of business, that have dropped down to 3rd. As I say, the Leeds story is famous. I mean, you'd love to be in the Europa Conference, wouldn't you, as a Leeds fan?
I would take that, and we were close to getting that last season. I would have taken that any time because I think it would have just established ourselves just slowly to see how the club was going to be of what the ownership wanted. So I think I would have taken the Europa Conference League by any day for the time being until we establish ourselves back in the Premier League and just try to be more of a we get more established league club in Europe as well. So for that, I would have taken that. No doubt about that, because I know people criticize the Europa Conference League. It's always a Mickey Mouse trophy, all that stuff. But if you don't take it seriously, you can get into the Europa League. There's a chance to play in the Europa League.
It's funny, years ago, when Martin O'Neill was our manager, in fact, I think we beat you on the way to one of them. We were in 3 League Cup finals in 4 years, and we won 2 of them. And at that point, Man United were putting a second string team out. Jordi Cruyff got a game for them against us in the league. He couldn't get anywhere near the first team. They totally disrespected it. And then we kept getting into Europe. Right? We weren't doing particularly well. Well, it doesn't help when you've got a bent referee, and he was bent because he never played another game after that. For those Leicester fans that remember it, Atletico Madrid, I think it was. But suddenly the big clubs, they want to win it. But back then they called it a Mickey Mouse club.
Yeah,
but you give. I mean, Arsenal, in fairness, have only been out that top 4 for 1 season. Give them the length of time that say you've been out the Premier League, they would be biting your hand off for the Europa Conference.
It's true. Yeah. It's true.
And I don't think the name doesn't help, I think, in this country as well, because it's got the conference link, even though that's not called that anymore. But the biggest thing here, Paul Delk says, whether you have Marcelo Bielsa or Jesse March or any other manager in charge, the old adage remains true. If you don't take your chances when on top, you risk being punished. And that kind of summed the whole thing up for me for Leeds' performance. But there was plenty of positives for you overall.
Yeah. I think we're thinking more of the positive than the next. I think the last couple of weeks were so much more negative than the positive. Yeah, even though we scored 2 goals in Man United, that don't make it more positive. It's more how you defend that lead, that defend for the rest of the game. I think for Leicester, I think the game against Leicester, it was more positive because we saw how much the players did care and how much they really want to put performance in, and they had a better performance than some of us expected. Despite we lost 1-0. So I'm happy with the performance, despite we lost the game in some performances. There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot more to improve now, and there's no time for we got no preseason. We've got the last 11 games or so now. Pressure's on.
Yeah, and it is good. When we got Brendan Rodgers, he came to us with 10 games left, and you learn more about Jesse Marsh will learn more about your players from these last 10 games than he will from any meaningless preseason friendlies, to be honest with you. But unfortunately, I know you probably don't want me to do this, but we are going to have a look at the table.
I ain't seen it already, but yeah.
We'll do it straight after this. Like we said before, if you haven't yet subscribed, please do. And just an update for those that are watching from earlier, it's now 14 years, 7 days, 2 hours, 20 minutes and 12 seconds since Tottenham last won a trophy. So just like to keep the Leicester fans informed on that one. Oh, they're going to hate me if they ever come on the panel.
I know.
This is the you'd have, it's not looking good. And those 5 red dots next to your name, that must be the most worrying thing.
It is when you have a resurgent Newcastle who bought really, really good players at the right time, and look where they are now. And you're right, and you've seen Brentford winning as well, which is important. They have a better goal difference as well. So, it's interesting because out of all the other teams, other than Norwich, who've lost more games, we have been a lot more disappointed. So I think for that, we do need to try to get some green dots on our board as soon as possible because, like I said, it's anything from 14th now to go out this year. I think Brighton, especially where they have been going at the moment, I don't know how. I think they'll be fine, but it's the teams probably from. I think Newcastle are safe. I think
Newcastle are safe, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's from. I think it's ourselves, Brentford, Everton, and Burnley are the ones who will need to fight. I think now the 4 teams now will need to fight to stay up. Now I think Newcastle are already done, so they've survived.
Although Brighton, like you say, if you look at Brighton, they've not won in 4. And they've got Liverpool up next. So, if Newcastle beat Southampton and, Southampton, they can have a couple of wins and then, they'll lose like they did against Villa 4-0 badly. That, Newcastle pulled themselves safe and pulled Brighton into it. And I think that's what it is. I think it's consistency. Yeah, it is about, changing these 1-0s into sort of either draws or wins. But like I was saying to Dan at Burnley, Burnley have got, 12, they've had 12 draws this season. If they'd turned some of those into wins, they'd be safe, I think. But that's what, they did win the couple, but then they're not won in 3. And it's if you haven't got that consistency, then that's the biggest factor. But no teams, apart from maybe Liverpool, obviously, and Man City, consistency, it doesn't seem to be anything that teams can do this season.
No, absolutely not. And I think because with some of the fixtures not being played due to COVID or injuries and so forth, I think April's going to be very vital for the 4 teams fighting to stay up at the moment. It's going to be vital because the fixture congestion is going to be very, 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 really quick. So we need to be really prepared for that one to make sure we don't have certain key injuries or suspensions. That is going to be the worrying thing. Like I said, it's just looking at the table. Like I said, Leeds have 1 more win over Everton and 2 more over Burnley. while Watford has got the same amount of wins, but they're still at the bottom in the 19th place. So it's everything to play for. I think April's going to be between now and end of April is going to be the most critical time for ourselves, Brentford, Everton, Burnley. I don't know about Watford, Norwich, but for those
goal difference for you though, minus 32. There's only Norwich that have got a worse goal difference.
Yeah,
but you've let more goals in, 61 goals. I mean, and we've let 43 in, which for our sort of position isn't good. But leaking 61 goals, and it looks like he's started to turn that around. But that has got to change for these last few.
It will change if we stay. That will change massively over the summer. It will have to change because I think we nearly broke. I think we nearly broke the record. I think the record is still Barnsley in 97, 98 after 27 games. So we nearly broke that record. But I think now we have to improve that defense now, and it will be huge over the summer. Or who's going to be there? Where we are, depends on which league we're going to be at next season. So for that is now that defense has got to be improved, vastly improved.
I'm going to have to ask you this because the last question, because we always do now at this end of this business end of the season. Who's going to win the league?
It's a tough one. It's a very tough one. Knowing my friend Douglas and Steve as well, they're both Liverpool fans. I have a few one to sit past. It's hard. I like both of the teams. They're very consistent. I don't know. I think City might edge this just again, and I think it will be like it was a few seasons ago. It'll be by 1 point.
At least there's a bit of a fight going on because at one point it looked like it was all over. And the question you're probably dreading me asking: 3 that are going down. I think we know 2 of them.
2, Watford and Norwich.
Yeah.
Well, it's a tough one because I thought Brentford were free falling until that win on Saturday. It's kind of maybe a little bit. It's a hard one.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Dan. If Burnley don't win the next couple of games, I think they've gone.
Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna have to see. It's just the way I see it, the moment where Burnley is at the moment, especially that 4-0 drubbing from Chelsea. Yeah, and also losing 2 to Leicester. Yeah. I think it might be Burnley. And it depends how we improve. We'll see about that.
Yeah. Anthony, good evening. How the devil are you? Arsenal fan doing a watch along with me this weekend. He's gone, unfortunately, Watford, Norwich, Leeds. But hey, Arsenal fans, what can you say? I've got your other question, Anthony. I'll come on to that in a minute. Karl, thank you so much for coming on. I know, believe you me, I know how bad this show is because I used to do the opposition preview, but I thought, let's do it a bit different this year. We'll do the opposition review after the game. And it's been really hard because this is the season. We've been losing so much. And to sit here, it's not resolved. I appreciate you coming on and being so honest and open. Thank you very much. Good luck. And I can say this now for the rest of the season, now that we've played each other. And hopefully we'll be talking next season if we can.
Hopefully, yeah. Depending, I might have to go on the Cardiff channel next season if that. Yeah.
But for the rest of the season, again, your links are in the YouTube description below. But just give a quick shout out as to how people can find you.
Again, you can find me at KarlEvery92 on Twitter. You can find myself and Douglas on our Twitter channel on the Totally Leaving Home Football Podcast at LH Football Pod. We're on Facebook as well as YouTube as well, and we're also on Catch Up as well on the podcast platforms such as Google, Apple, Spotify, and all the other platforms as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on, Karl. Take care, stay safe. I'm not jealous of you just coming back from Brazil at all. I'm glad we beat you now. But good luck for the rest of the season. I really do. I want Everton to be the third one to go down. I hope you stay up, and I hope we'll be having this chat again next season, although maybe in happier circumstances. Take care, mate. Thank you. And all the best. Cheers. Thank you to Karl there. Yeah, his description is in the YouTube link below. Be sure to give him a follow. Great guy. It is difficult to do this when your team has just lost. Like I say, I know so well this season. Anthony says, good weekend of football. Thoughts on the Manchester derby? Do you know, I actually went on our prediction show for a Manchester City win. I thought it was going to be easy. And then I started to look at it and think, well, maybe, it is a derby. Man United, do seem to always win the derby at City, whether that's Main Road as it was or Etihad Stadium as now is. What happened? They capitulated. They were absolutely rubbish. Now, I've said this, Manchester United are a huge club. The problem with Manchester United is some of their fans are so young, they don't remember pre-Alex Ferguson. Pre-Alex Ferguson, they were very much no better than Chelsea, no better than Tottenham. No better than Arsenal. No disrespect to Anthony this season, and no better than Tottenham. They won the odd cup here and there, but after Busby, that was a long gap between Busby and Ferguson coming in, and there weren't anything special. But of course, Ferguson came in a couple of years to turn things around, and my God, were they a good club? Was he an absolutely amazing manager? You can only be judged by what you won. And my God, they are probably have to build an extension just for the trophy cabinet. But they want to get back to that. And they can't, this sort of, we won it 14 times or whatever. We should be winning it. It doesn't work like that. Before you had Ferguson, Liverpool were the big team. Before Liverpool, it was kind of Leeds. And it doesn't, look how long it took. Well, look how long it's taken Leeds to get back up here. Look how long, 30 years it took Liverpool to win the top flight again. We won it before they did. So I think Man United, they've got a problem. I think it goes deeper than just the manager. When you're a club like Manchester United, with the history that I've just said, they should be able to go out and get the manager they want. Leicester did it. We did it with Brendan Rodgers. As far as I understand it, we insisted on him coming down early, so he'd got those 10 games. So why can't Man United do it? Managers will be looking at that club and going, God, that's Man United. I want to manage that club. And I'm sorry, Man United, you'll pay 80 million for Maguire, and you probably won't pay off a 20 million buyout clause for the manager you want. And I just think it's bad. I mean, Ralph's come in, and you can and I was just saying literally then, and time will tell that when you've got a new manager come in, for him to be a success, he has got to do better than the manager he's replaced. And it's hard when you've got a manager that keeps winning it all the time. Like, who the hell wants to be, I wouldn't want to be the guy that follows Pep in, just as I'm sure David Moyes would have preferred to be the manager after the manager that followed Sir Alex in. But I just don't know that they are any better. I really don't. Thank you, Anthony. I just don't see that they've got rid of Ollie. Ralph's come in, who is apparently this great tactical manager, and he's going to be their director of football. He's that good. Doesn't look it to me. Doesn't look it to me at all. And I know derbies aren't what they used to be. They're not, And I said this when we played Nottingham Forest in the Cup. We've got a lot of foreign players these days. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But how many Leicester players, when we went out to play Nottingham Forest in the Cup, knew what that really meant to us? Brendan Rodgers possibly didn't. He may have read about it. Harvey Barnes possibly. Luke Thomas definitely. Kieran Dewsbury-Hall definitely. Past that, and a couple of them didn't play. Past that, what does Tillemans know? What does Ndidi know about Leicester Nottingham Forest? Because we haven't played them for so long. But the derbies, if you can't get up for a derby, and that's what was so annoying about that performance, and that's why the Leicester fans went mad. Yes, we lost to Nottingham Forest, which, let's be honest with you, it's not nice, but it's the manner in which we lost. And I saw somebody there saying, what can you do with the Manchester United players to improve them? I think I was like, sack them and let them go, because with that squad that Manchester United have got, they should be doing better than where they are now. They're below a club, Anthony, where you don't want the manager in, and yet you're above them. Obviously, I think you look at it and you can't say that everything that's gone on at Man United was Ollie's fault. Because if Wreck-It Ralph doesn't get top 4 this season, because that's what Ollie's got you the last couple of seasons, top 4, second, or I believe Ollie was at one point. I think he might have finished the season in second. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know Man United stats. Got you to a Europa final. A goalkeeper taking the penalty away from staying, having another chance at winning it. They are in a mess. They are in the mess. And it's funny. I'm sorry. I am sorry. But as Leicester fans, as Leeds fans, Everton fans, Newcastle fans, when you look at, and I know you didn't coin the phrase top 6, it was the Sky thing. And I'm sure Sky is still licking, City and United's arses over the fact that they were able to do the thank you, Anthony. Yes, Ollie did get Man United second. So if they get, this guy doesn't do that, he's worse than Ollie. Let's be honest. The other problem, I tell you what, just to stick on it with Man United, is Alex Ferguson. He's like the Grim Reaper. He's there. And he's like Andy Murray's mum. Always there. Always in the background, lurking, just looking. Maybe Ollie didn't want Ronaldo. He's not really made a lot of impression on the team, has he? But Alex Ferguson couldn't allow his favourite player to go to Man City. Hello, Rennie. How the devil are you too? I'm okay, thank you. And there's just so much wrong there. Scott, we'll leave it with this one. Still say we should have played. I've said this from the start. We finished the Watford game, the previous round, and I have to say, by beating Watford and going out to Arsenal, we are no longer, we're not the latest club as holders to have been knocked out in the third round. That's a certain Arsenal. But we ended up against Watford the season before, and the round before. And this gin's going down amazing, I'll tell you. I'd have an intravenous drip if I could. But no, seriously, we finished that Watford game. I think it was 5 or 6 under 23s because there's so many players out with COVID, and they beat. All right, it was Watford, but a Premiership team 4-1. We dropped those players and we put in the so-called big names that don't know the history and what have you. And, it basically was of our first team by then. And we lost 4-1. I'll leave it with that. Anthony, I'm not keen on Arteta, but if he gets us 4th, then he's done well. And I'll be leaning more to Arteta in. You see, again, if he gets you 4th, well, from where you were last season, the board, whether you like the Cronkies or not, they've stuck with him. And I'm going to start sounding like Stephen now because I'm getting Arsenal to take over the channel. But he's not even on. Stephen said earlier, apparently, that he'd sooner the team finish outside the top 4 so that they sack Arteta. I don't know if that's true. If it is, it just doesn't compute for me. He's entitled to his opinion. Of course he is. It's his club. It's not mine. But that just does not compute for me. Look, I'm going to go because we're going to be back at 9 o'clock. It's a sloppy seconds night again tonight. And we've got this. Oh, yes. Are you ready for this? Oh, that was the wrong music. We have got... Oh, shut up. We have got Clowning Craig against Dangerous Dan. It is the Big Fat Football Quiz 2, and that is coming up live at 9 o'clock. Craig, the defending champion. Will Craig be the first person to hold on to the crown for more than a week as champion? The questions are ready to go. The contestants are ready to go. As you know, the Big Fat Football Quiz, I'm the big fat bit of it. Football Quiz, well, that's a little bit of a tenuous link. 4 rounds of totally irreverent footballing questions. Round 1 is what does a Scotsman do? Holds his kilt down in the wind, probably. Round 2 is I wouldn't be seen dead in that. That's probably what you can guess that one. Round 3 is just do it. And round 4, what's in a name, which is a really difficult round. So that's Craig, that's Dan. They'll have the notepad and paper ready to go, 9 o'clock. If you've watched this, thank you so much. It's nice to be able to do a post-match show. We're talking about Leicester winning. It's been a long time. Well, I say it's a week, but we've not had many of these this season. Are we back? Is this, and we've said this before, when we beat Man United, when we beat Liverpool, is this the turning point for our season? We've had a few false dawns, haven't we? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please, like I say, if you haven't done already, like the video. It does help the channel. Subscribe, that helps us even more, and we really do appreciate your subscriptions. If you don't want to be notified, you can turn those off so you're not being bothered every time I come on. But the main thing is please subscribe and help us get those numbers up. And if you're listening back on podcast, again, you know what I say, it blows my mind. Over 20,000 downloads on the podcast platforms. Unbelievable. I will see you at 9. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks to everybody, Anthony, Connor, Scott, everybody else that's been in the chat. Thank you so much. Dorco, Rennie at the end there. I can't remember anybody else, but thank you for coming in and joining in with us. Try and get back at 9 o'clock, because if it's nothing else, it's a laugh, this quiz. Stay safe. Hey, don't do anything I wouldn't enjoy.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
That's all, folks.